a brief introduction of our speaker before I invite him on the stage. Khushwant Singh is a renowned author with master craftsmanship in writing biographies and historical fiction. 3 of his books are being adapted into cinematic experiences, making him one of the fascinating contemporary authors of India. Fearless, creative, and suave, Khushwant Singh has worn many hats, including a journalist, columnist, TV host, editor, and a farmer. He is currently the State Information Commissioner, Punjab, making him a unique blend of top administrative experience and creativity. I would now like to invite Mr. Khushwant Singh and Malavika Banerjee on the stage, please.
Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to the second edition on the second day of the Tata Steel Bhubaneswar Literary Meet. Khushwant Singh has written this amazing book, The Opium Toffee, which looks at 2 very turbulent decades in the history of Punjab. And I suspect those were the 2 decades in which Khushwant himself was a young man growing up in those troubled times, in this beautiful, lush, prosperous state that suddenly seemed to have caught the evil eye. There are many aspects of that period which resolved over time, and thanks to the perspicacity of the Punjabi populace, those problems are behind us, but some still persist. So thank you for being here, and tell us why you decided, after writing a biography on Captain Amarinder Singh, to venture into the choppy waters of novel writing.
Hi, can you hear me? This is fine. Yeah, thanks Malavika, thanks for inviting me, and this is my first visit to Bhubaneswar. I'm liking the city. Coming to your question, you know, this is my second novel actually. The first one was Maharaja in Denims, which is juxtaposed between Maharaja Ranjit Singh's reign and contemporary Punjab and India, where this boy gets past life regression, images of being Maharaja Ranjit Singh, and he goes through the entire scope, you know, of the entire sequence of events which led to, say, he goes through 1947, 84 riots, and goes into future also of Punjab. So Punjab is in my blood, Punjab is in my veins, I've grown up, so largely my work, however much I try, you know, to not do something like I wanted to do something on a superhero, but I ended up writing on Punjab. So I think 2 of my novels are based on... That
is pretty much what we expect of a Punjabi.
Punjabi, yes. So I think maybe I've grown up with that, and I needed some sort of healing. There's some sort of lost childhood which I felt, and I wanted to talk about it. So Maharaja in Denims and then Opium Toffee. I hope I'm over that, you know, that whole experience of, you know, growing up in a turbulent phase. It was a phase which was very, very, you know, it was a phase where you couldn't go wrong. It was a phase where as a teenager you could not go wrong. Either the cops got you or the boys got you. So you had to be on such a strict regime in your life, your parents wouldn't allow you to do certain things. So I think I wanted to talk about that, and I wanted the world to read it through the eyes of fiction. Perhaps Maharaja in Denims is the first fiction out of the phase that Punjab experienced. Otherwise everything sits in non-fiction.
So here you have 2 protagonists, Ajit and Shabnam, and their respective families. And through there, as at some point Shabnam says, they're like 2 parallel rail tracks, and one went upwards and one kind of descended into complete chaos. So you mentioned growing up was all about constantly not getting it wrong. So did you in real time in those years find it very difficult to negotiate the pressures of, you know, your peers going astray, or, you know, enjoying opium toffee or whatever, or getting indoctrinated on one side, and of course the mainstream Indian politics of the time, which was also to blame for all the exacerbations that took place?
So, in fact, I write, in the introduction that though it's a fiction, I think this story so many young boys would have gone through this, what is, mentioned in this story. So many lives went astray without even them knowing that they are going astray. Because I remember I was in college and suddenly we had this news, in the morning I was parking my scooter and the thekedar of that parking said, police ne Kang marta, means they've shot dead Kang. Kang was a guy who was studying with us. Kang was a guy who would sit pillion with one of us and go somewhere. He was a guy who would borrow a shirt from someone. And suddenly, everyone who had any connection, they were picked up by the police. So the point is that, so you didn't know, that who was doing what. So we experienced all these things. And there are stories like that in the book, anecdotes. So life was a very, very, like I said, it was, one of those very balancing acts. You couldn't play cricket after 5 p.m. when I was in the village. You were asked that you get your bat and ball and be back. Now it's dark. And especially in the Amritsar area, it was even worse. So, I saw all that. I saw the police side. I saw the boys' side. That what they thought. And obviously it's politics. And this book, let me tell you, is actually a result of the research that I had accumulated during Captain Amrinder's biography when I was writing. I came across so much of material and stories and documents that I realized that, obviously this is politics. In fact, there is this new book that's come out, Turmoil of Punjab by Ramesh Chandra Singh. He was DC Amritsar. And he stitched the Punjab problem very well. And you realize that everyone is an actor in the game. And the sufferers are the common people. So many youngsters, families lost lives, their near and dear ones. So this book is actually a result of that research, and it was sitting in me. And then obviously I had that whole, experience about growing up in that phase. So I put this book together, The Opium Toffee. And I deal with issues of patriarchy. I deal with issues of terrorism. I deal with the issues of drugs. I deal with the issues of farm life, farmers. So it has many layers. So I've grown up as a farmer. I work as a commissioner. I've been an author. I've been a TV journalist. So I've had worn so many hats. I've been an equestrian. So many phases I've been through in life. So I could stitch this together.
I think this is a good point at which you can give us a short reading.
What do you want?
I think right now you could do the one at the start of the story where the protagonist meets Ajit.
So this is from chapter 1. I'm just reading from the start. It says 4 days earlier, The Strand, London, 16 December 1995. The interesting part is that I have actually been to every spot and written my scene. Nights made London icy. December was never known for warmth, even during daytime. Shabnam was walking along the Strand with other Indian models. Some friends, some not. After participating in a fashion show, when a familiar voice singing a familiar song brought her designer gumboots to an abrupt halt. It cut sharply through the loud buzz of the Strand and the chatter of the girls who were busy discussing their modeling careers and the fashion show that evening. After a few pims and some champagne, they were at their chirpy best, excited about the fashion show at the Ritz London Hotel, where they had just donned outfits by famous Indian fashion designers. The crowd was huge and seemed enthusiastic, said one of the girls. I think people freaked out on the Indian ethnic wear collection, pipped the other. In fact, she still had a tiara on her head, the one she had worn while modeling for an Indian designer's bridal wear. a hot-selling product in the UK market. In the last decade of the 20th century, India had seen a sudden boom in the wedding industry, clothes, jewelry, shoes, and more. With the insurgency which Punjab had witnessed during the 80s showing signs of abating, non-resident Indians, mostly Punjabis, were in a hurry to visit their native land to attend family weddings.
Thanks. So that's where the whole story starts about this young girl who meets somebody she knew from the past who was busking at the Strand. You know, some of the incidents, as anybody who read the newspapers through the 80s would be familiar with, Operation Blue Star, with several other, you know, the events that led to that very, very watershed moment in the Punjab crisis. But one thing, at least I must have been 11 at the time, but I never knew about was how the Asian Games was a point at which there was a lot of disillusionment that Punjabis and Sikhs felt towards the center for the way they were treated when several of them were trying to come for the Asian Games.
Well, so there were many incidents, you know, when there's a problem, then obviously then you're so sensitive to everything. Then the persecution kind of syndrome sets in, and then everything seems like that. But I think the 82 Asian Games were, in the sense that, you know, there was a narrative that was building, and when the 84, you know, the way they were checked, you know, on the highway in Haryana, that kind of confirmed for them, you know, what the narrative was being sold. So I can read a passage out of here if you want me.
For us in the rest of India, Bhuta Singh was a big icon of the Asian Games. So this part really came to me as a big surprise that, as you said, the worst fears of the Sikhs in Punjab at the time were confirmed by what happened when they tried to come to Delhi.
So it's about a page I'll read. These tender boys were falling prey to the emerging thought of minority persecution, which Rennie believed was a figment of their imagination. It was nothing but rhetoric to keep the political boiler heated. She remembered an animated conversation between her father, a brigadier in the army, and his friend, a social scientist. Her father expressed his agreement with the emerging ideology by citing the example that the Indian Army from 1947 to 1982 was yet to have a Sikh chief, and the reason behind this was purely discrimination. His friend believed that Sikhs were being misled, something for which he was shot dead in later years. The friend had countered, if you want to even begin to understand what minority persecution means, the misery, anxiety, and the anguish they endure, go meet Muslims. Try renting a house in Delhi with a Muslim name or identity, and you will know. And mind you, if you don't put a stop to this growing madness, Sikhs will bring upon themselves the same wrath. As if prophetic, these words were proven right in a matter of a few months during the run-up to the November 1982 Delhi Asian Games. Uncle was so right, Rennie sighed after Har Pratap and she were humiliated in Haryana, the state connecting Punjab to Delhi. The episode was a game changer in terms of hurting Sikh sentiments, as it even antagonized rational and moderate thinking people like Har Pratap and Rennie. The provincial government of Haryana had unleashed a massive Stop the Sikhs campaign. Under this drive, the police would forcibly check every car headed towards Delhi to see if it was being driven by a Sikh. They would pitilessly pull out Sikh men and women from Delhi-bound buses and ask them to open their suitcases, purses, and even gutkas to search for weapons. The overtly rude policemen would question the Sikhs and their purpose for visiting the capital, virtually behaving like visa officers of a different country. Delhi ke karne jana tane, was the frequently asked question on that stretch of the Sher Shah Suri Marg in Haryana. No one dared say Asian Games. So I'll read another passage. I'll just cut through to the last part of this. Even in its win, as the Asian Games were a colossal success, the Indian government had clearly lost. The beautiful stadiums, long and winding flyovers, and the fancy five-star hotels seemed to pale in front of the atrocities that had taken place against the Sikhs along the length of the Grand Trunk Road from Punjab to Haryana.
So I would confess to not having known this aspect of the Asian Games being a point at which many moderate Sikhs too felt persecuted.
Yeah, it was a very sore point at that point. Even Lieutenant General Arora, Khushwant Singh wrote about it, the senior Khushwant Singh. So yeah, it was. So once all these things happened, this was basically what was the Punjab problem. The Punjab problem was to split the vote. It's simple. And then obviously you created a monster and got consumed.
The other aspect of this book which makes it very endearing is that it's essentially a love story. So, and you use that love story to also create a very strong Shabnam who stands up against her dad's philosophies and patriarchy that was so much part of the whole Punjabi identity movement. So many of her decisions and what she did through the same period when Ajit was unraveling shows how crisis can also in some ways emancipate and give the youth a reason to find their own voice and identity.
So, when I write, everyone calls it a love story, set during the conflict of Punjab. But I never write like this. I write to bring out, highlight issues, layers. And it's just a tool, this love story. For me, I created Shabnam and made her a model, a supermodel of India, to highlight a particular part of that phase of turbulence. In 1989, one of the radical organizations had given this diktat that girls will only wear salwar kameez and a dupatta. No jeans, nothing, school, overnight, the dresses change. So this girl becomes a supermodel as a reaction to this nonsense. She said, I cannot let my idea of Punjab be taken away by, by these thoughts and by a few bunch of people. So she resolves, once she's confronted. It was very common in Chandigarh and Punjab during this phase that, random people would stop girls and say, oh, Yankaran, tu jean kyun pai hai? Salwar kameez pao. It had become such a common thing. So she stood up against that and decides that she wants to become a model to not let the idea of Punjab run away, So that's how I created this character of a model.
So now the book is going to be shot as a web series?
Well,
is that the heaven for all novels these days?
I don't know, when as a writer, you don't write like that. 3 of my books are they've been optioned for adaptation, One is my biography on Fauja Singh, the marathon runner. So Umang Kumar is making the guy who made Mary Com. The other is Maharaja in Denims has been optioned by Guneet Monga. She made Lunchbox and Gangs of Wasipur. And this has been optioned by a young group who want to make a web series on this. Though I'm told there is a movie coming, because this has layers of human trafficking. Yes. He goes through the entire process of what we call donkey lana. I think Shah Rukh is coming with a movie called Donkey or something. But it's actually called Donkey Lana. Donkey Lana means that you are a khota basically, where you carry your luggage and all and pass, go through these mountains and passes. So that's what the traders call it, Donkey Lana. So I hope they make it, though I remember we had a conversation with Netflix, but they were already coming out with Cat. So, which is based on Punjab. So I'm looking forward that, so one of the reasons why I have tried to bring the Punjab story through fiction is that I'm sitting in Bhubaneswar and talking about a story. It's kind of part of shared pain. I think it's very important that storytelling, that it comes through storytelling. If a movie is made, if a web series is made, so many people will see it and understand. What you are seeing is through the ideas of an absolutely dud and an untrained media. You know, they have their own, they just don't have perspective. They are so story-oriented. So I think that is a large idea of bringing the Punjab story through this fiction narrative. You know, I was at the New York Lit Fest, and I was talking about Maharaja and denims, and there was this gentleman, Jerry Fisher, he was head of the Jewish Federation. And when I said the same thing, he stood up and said, "You're absolutely correct. The Holocaust, when the world got to understand was when it came out of non-fiction to fiction and to movies." So I think it's very important that that there is literature being developed around that problem through storytelling, and not just limited to non-fiction books. And those are individual narratives. Mostly non-fiction books are individual narratives. They don't stitch the entire thing together.
It's interesting you mentioned the Holocaust, and I was going to ask you about the opium aspect of the book, but we'll come to that later. So do you think, for instance, the Holocaust novels that we all have read and we all love came after a period of 2-3 decades? There are exceptions. And even today, even in the 2000s, many books for young adults like The Book Thief, The Boy in Striped Pajamas, are all about the Second World War. So do you think there is a critical amount of time between the conflagration and writing about it, which is necessary to give a breaking news story the right perspective? So do you think 20 years, or I guess 20 years
I
is good enough time?
think it is, because wounds have healed. People also can relate to it and understand it better, because at that time the narrative is so high, no one is ready to believe anything. The emotions are so high. So you introduce a book like that, like this, I mean, people will say there is a motivation, there is an agenda, it's a government-sponsored thing, so, or they will say, so after about 15, 20, 25 years, people are ready to understand and accept things, because so many things have come out in the open. What was going on and who was behind it and why, and also people have, realized that they suffer for no reason. So I think it is an important, that there needs to be a certain period between, when such work starts emerging, and between the episode.
Okay. So when I first saw this title, The Opium Toffee, I thought it's going to be something about a contemporary thriller along the lines of what we saw in Urta Punjab. So the opium part of this whole story you tell is still alive, and sadly alive and well, in Punjab. So can you talk us through why that continues to be such a major challenge for successive governments?
I think, opium's been part of, human existence.
Yes, we were inaugurated by Amitav Ghosh.
So that's been part of human existence. What I try to highlight here is actually for me, I don't know why this topic, this title came to me, and I wanted to stick to this title.
Were there opium toffees back then?
Yeah, so what we call a Afeem ki goli. So people, what they do is that they have these little toffees, which they consume. People, you can see them in people's pockets also. So that's how opium is, they roll it and they make a little toffee. So here what I have used is that basically the father of Shabnam uses this trick to destroy this young life, and it's a very common practice in certain parts of Punjab and India, where if you want to destroy your kith and kin, especially in families which are landed, which have land, so you either put your brother's son on alcohol or drugs and all. So that's a very common practice. So I've used that tool in this book. So that's why the title Opium Toffee. And opium exists, but I think Punjab is facing a different problem than opium. This is the synthetic drugs and all that. And why Punjab is, getting this? Because Punjabis were never meant to be doing this. I think, but otherwise globally everyone is doing it. I mean, you go to Goa, you go to Bombay, you go to London, you go to New York. It's just the same. The problem why it's being highlighted is because Punjabis were not meant to do this. They've got into this whole thing about synthetic drugs. That's the problem.
But it also speaks about a money order economy where one person goes abroad and a lot of money comes back. It's not dissimilar to what happens in Kerala, where alcoholism is the problem that it kind of results in. So perhaps that is another reason you have these young people who have access to money and not much to do.
No, I think it is more prevalent amongst the peasantry. It is not amongst people with money. I mean, if you look at Punjab's population largely is about 50%. 50% are Sikhs, 50% are, Hindus and other. I don't see the trading community, their young children in it, because I think they are immediately put to work and they start, looking after their business. I don't see it in their community. I see it in the peasantry. And why is it in the peasantry? That needs to be, this thought. But also it is overhyped. I mean, I did a census one day of all my friends, and none of them is on drugs. I mean, none of us have ever consumed or smoked or anything, So I think...
You hang with a good lot.
No, I mean, but and they are all affluent people who have access to, buy stuff. But no, I think with this Urta Punjab and all, so this chap, that Keshav chap, when he made money out of Dev D, when drugs was the in thing, and then he made money out of when the narrative changed out of Urta Punjab. So
Poor Anurag Kashyap. All right, before I throw it open to the audience, so what does the other Khushwant Singh write next?
I am looking at various things. So I usually do a biography, a novel, a biography, a novel. So I'm looking for a good biography, but I actually can't find anyone around, All these publishers and all, they've started doing these very celebrity-oriented biographies, film stars and all that stuff. But I'm looking at an interesting biography. Otherwise, I'll write another novel. But I started a novel, but my problem is I get back into Punjab again and again, and I want to stay away from that.
So if there are any questions, I just want to ask you one thing before Jerry takes over. How is it to be an author with the name Khushwant Singh? I
think it has worked against me in a big way.
Oh ma.
Yeah, and
well, it caught my eye when you first got.
No, it has. I mean, my first 5-6 years were harrowing, and if my name was Natha Singh, I think I would have been almost at par with Khushwant Singh. So it's only the problem is that everyone says but everyone tries to find that Khushwant Singh in my work, which is ridiculous also. And I remember when my first book came, Outlook did a nasty piece on me that some boy from Punjab has had this gall to write under the great Khushwant Singh. So I met Sheila Reddy at one of those dinners, and I told her, I have a bone to pick up with you. You should have talked about the book, critiqued the book, trashed it, thrown it, but this purpose of, coming to my name, it just excites people. That's all.
Well, it's a very, very big name. Yes, Jerry.
I was wondering, Khushwant Singh ji, why you seem to be so resistant to the idea of writing about Punjab? Because, I mean, it seems to be something that stories seem to demand being told. And when they come, whether they are from Punjab or anyone else, or anywhere else, your readership will be happy to read a well-told tale, wouldn't you say? Why do you feel that you should step out of Punjab?
The two books have covered largely what I have to say. So maybe I need 10-15 years more to grasp what is the cut, this phase, and then write. So through Maharaja and Denims and this, I've I've kind of told the tale that was to be told, and it'll be repetition. So that's my fear.
Okay, Bachi.
I belong to another generation, a much older generation, worked with the other stroke real Khushwant Singh. And when we were growing up in a place like Calcutta, both Bengal and Punjab, victims of the partition. And Punjab was always pointed out as the model, that they got over it, they were rich, they got the whole green revolution happening, the highways had the milk bars, whereas Calcutta was still struggling with refugees on Sialda station, still suffering from that old partition, mentality, blaming it for everything that had happened. Then came the Green Revolution, then came the fact of rich Punjabi farmers and the talk that, why is farming income not taxed, and they are getting away with it. So it was really the kind of model. I don't even want to use the word minority, because minority has become so pejorative today, So when did this change happen from becoming the power structure, if you like, to the paranoid structure of today?
I think undivided Punjab was very powerful. And once Punjab was divided into three parts, then slowly it started showing its effects. For example, Pratap Singh Kehron developed the entire industry for Punjab in Faridabad because the airport was closer. But then that became Haryana, so Punjab lost out on the entire industry that was built. Punjab is an agriculture state, rivers are in Himachal. So Punjab was divided on linguistic basis, not on any geography or terrain, on economic basis, or it was just divided on linguistic basis. They did a survey, and so the Hindi-speaking areas went to Haryana, and Himachal part went to Himachal, and so I think once suddenly the state changes, the economy, and it was a very poor thought because the Akalis wanted a certain patch of land in country where the Sikhs were in a majority and they could have a government of their own. I mean, that was the thought around it. So it started showing its effects. And all Green Revolution and the thoughts in the Punjab University are all thoughts of an undivided Punjab. So I think that is where my research shows that's where everything started dwindling. We lost the airport, we lost connectivity, we lost industry, employment went, so all that.
I think there's a question on this side. Is there, oh, yeah.
Sir, I have a small question. So the name Khushwant Singh is not merely a name, it's an inspiration for the people of India and the world at large. One Khushwant Singh wrote his epitaph before his death. How people will remember him after he goes away. He wrote, "Here lies a man who is dead. He was such a sod, Udiyare Paji. He was such a sod. He never even spared man and God." So, he said, again, please bury my dead body in the deepest part of the ocean so that I can be remembered forever. So actually, tell something about Khushwant Singh, the real Khushwant Singh, and today your presence reminds us such a great man of India. So kindly tell one of his jokes. One of his jokes.
We'll try. Thank you. He's also a real Khushwant Singh. His name happens to be Khushwant Singh. I mean,
Yeah.
so he's real as well. Just to point that
Yeah,
out.
so that's what. So my name was Natha Singh. You wouldn't have asked me this question or asked me to do that. So I am not supposed to, in a way, be like him or, maybe draw inspiration from him just because my name is Khushwant Singh. That way.
So who are the authors you actually do draw inspiration from?
I think my earlier reading is, I used to read a lot in college and school. And my earlier reading my college reading is actually Osho. I used to spend my entire pocket money buying Osho books. Right opposite the college, we had this Lajpat Rai Bhavan where they would, from the 1st to the 15th, they had this exhibition. But largely otherwise, all Grisham, Jeffrey Archer, Ludlam, so these were my readings. And later, last 15 years, been non-fiction for all my research. I've read kind of lot documents, white paper, all that. But Osho has been a large part of my reading in my growing up years. I used to wear a robe in college, the maroon robe. And I went to Pune last year and I got 2 robes for myself.
Excellent. Yes, there's a question here.
You talked about non-fiction, about these incidents. When you said that, you brought out the importance of fictionalizing, these traumatic experiences of communities. You try to draw a distinction. All of us know about how fiction has handled some of these trauma, whether it is about Vietnam War, this and that. But my question is there an element of, is there a threat to question, the truth, or what happens to the truth value of such fiction? Will the reader not say, "Ha, ye to fiction hai, Iman Garden hai"? So don't you think the reality is undermined when it is fictionalized?
I think incidents are true. The incidents are true. And so the story of people is fictionalized, but the incidents are largely true. The Asian game incident is true. 84, whether it's Blue Star, whether it's riots, these incidents are absolutely true. So, so I think it gives the reader that authenticity also. So we can call it, say, historical fiction. So historical fiction largely would have the truth. And this truth is objective, I think. I mean, there can't be 2 truths. Truth can only be one. If there are 2 truths, it's duality. So largely, I feel that perception and truth are 2 separate things. So what I have tried to go through research, this thing is try to arrive at some sort of a truth, or at least so where people can actually question this and ask, yes, this is, and relate to it, that yes, this is what actually happened. I think, how else do I answer your question, to that? Because the incidents are true. I mean, they're not kind of created.
Okay. I think there's one tentative digit, not even a hand.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. I am a student from Utkal University, and literally I don't know about that Sikh incidents, or we also know by the news that one thing happened in 1984 at the streets of Delhi, where one party is blaming another. We don't know, but when I was 11 years old, I used to see our Prime Minister who used to wear that blue cap. For me, that was cap, and I asked my father, why I cannot wear that cap? And then he told me that he can wear, you can't. Then post times, and we grown up, and we are in universities now, and it is very contemporary. And I want to your stance on that, because nowadays I go to someone, let's say not from other than my belief or other than my thoughts, and he or she doesn't seem to have friendship with me, and she doesn't like the thought. It's very your times you said about 1982 Olympics. I am saying very small incident, a sports event happening. If I go to ask her, please give me water, and she or he doesn't like that, yeah, I am from the majority caste and he is from the minority or she is from the minority. As Khushwant Singh, you are very open writer. I know you sometimes. Are you interested to write on that aspect?
Okay, we get the question. So I'll just twist it in two ways. One is he mentioned Manmohan Singh. So the prime ministership of Manmohan Singh, was that a significant moment of closure for someone like you who grew up under the dark shadows of 1980s?
Well, I don't see it like that. I think it was a very merit-based kind of prime ministership. So I don't see it like that,
No, it didn't happen because he didn't deserve it. What I'm saying, seeing a prime minister who's a Sikh, what impact did it have? His merit is unquestioned.
In the sense that I think, obviously Punjab felt proud and, and he came and he studied in my hometown in Hoshiarpur. So obviously, yeah, there was this very proud moment for the state, like for any other state or this thing. But for me personally, I've grown up very differently, to look at things in this particular manner. For me, the storytelling is about a turbulent phase of a childhood, of an issue, of lives gone wrong, and seeing death, destruction, and unnecessarily. So for me, I don't see it like that, for me, he's the Prime Minister of the country.
Okay. Any other questions? I think...
you said that you are searching for a subject for the next biography. So how you search? What is your criteria? What is interesting you in a subject? So for which you decide to write a biography on it?
I'm a mercenary, so if I get a good biography, I'll write it, I don't have any personal agenda. Like Captain Amrinder's biography, I was offered that by the publishing house, Hay House. They asked me, but because I had access to him, and they were trying maybe, so I wrote that biography. I can write any biography. I was offered a biography.
Does an Italian dancing Odissi for 40 years interest you?
Fair enough. If a publisher commissions me a good biography, I'm ready to. Fauja Singh's biography I wrote because his coach asked me that he turns 100, the marathon runner who runs marathons, and I went to England and wrote his biography. He lives there now. He's back in India. He's still alive. And they were two very contrasting biographies. Fauja Singh was like a biography which is largely his running life and initially his farming life. But Amarinder's biography goes from, back to history and everything. So two different. So I can attempt any biography if I get.
Okay, now that's the last question, yes.
Ileana's question actually prompts this question. Khushwant, how far are you willing to go to write a biography? Recently, I read about this Israeli historian, David Shulman, who in his 70s learned the Tamil language, and he has written a biography of the Tamil language. So would you be willing to go as far to write a biography?
Maybe, I don't know. Once I start understanding the scope of it, then I will take a call. Maybe one of the reasons I write about Punjab is because I'm comfortable writing. I can handle the subject. Like I was about to mention, someone offered me a biography of someone from Kashmir. So I was a little reluctant to write that because maybe that's a subject which it's not in my DNA, like Punjab is in my DNA to understand. But maybe I'm still considering that gentleman's biography from Kashmir. Yeah.
I think that's about it. So may your subject find you soon, and so that we have another book to invite you back for. In the meantime, Khushwant's The Opium Toffee, as well as his biography of Captain Amarinder Singh, are available at our bookstore. He's available to sign them. And Amarinder will be joining Bachi and Jatin Nayak to do a session on biographies tomorrow. So do catch that to know more about his big passion for writing life stories. Thank you, Khushwant. Wonderful to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.